Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'll be doing paper 2 of Leaving Cert, its approach, time management, and how to simply do it. So stay tuned. Right, so the first thing that I want to talk to you about would be the time management. How much time do you have for the entire thing? You have 200 minutes to complete 3 different sections of paper 2, but one of them is divided into 2. I'll explain that in detail in a second. So the first thing, you've got the single text, and I'm talking, by the way, for both higher and ordinary. I will mention some stuff that are different as I go along. So you've got single text that is 60 points. You've got the comparative studies that are 70. You've got the poetry, that's the rest, right? So you've got the unseen poetry, that's 20, and you've got 50 for the prescribed poetry. So all in all, they are total to 200. Now, how I and a lot of other teachers propose that you guys manage your time for paper 2 would be you read the paper for around 15 minutes. I'm saying this like I'm trying to buy you as much time as possible for reading the paper, but some people prefer to do it like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. But the ideal is around 10 to 15 minutes reading the paper. Spend not more than 55 minutes on the total single text, whether you're doing higher and it's one question of a 60 point, or whether you're doing ordinary where you get a 10, 10, 10 and a choice of 3 30s where you choose only one. Then you spend 65 minutes on the comparative study, whether you're doing higher or ordinary, same thing. Now you might be getting a 15, 15, 40 or a 30, 40 in ordinary, or a full 70 point question in the higher level exam. Right when you're done with that, you do prescribed poetry, or you do unseen poetry first, where you spend 15 minutes, not more than that, and I'm serious, I'm not exaggerating. And then you got the prescribed poetry that you do for 15 minutes. So poetry in total is 65 minutes. All in all, that accumulates to 200 minutes. Now, the single text accounts for 60 marks, the comparative accounts for 70, the poetry, all in all, accounts for 70 as well, where prescribed is 50 and unseen is 20. This is for both higher and ordinary. Now, what I want to tell you about this, make time to read the paper before answering it. It's very important that you figure out which questions that you want to answer prior to, just jumping to conclusions and, starting your answers before really realizing what you want to do. Don't start writing the minute you see a question that really fits and you think, wow, I can answer that. Like, there are so many times where you can be fooled about, you think that you know how to answer it, but honestly you don't. Make a plan for each answer before answering. Like my top students, what they do is that they use a pencil and they write on the exam paper. They literally write down, they note down which questions will they be doing, and literally they plan them out like real quickly about what they will do and what they wouldn't do. I had a student who used to plan for half a page. He was an H1 student and he used to literally get H1 consistently. But these are like really rare to find, hard to find. I'm not saying write half a page of a plan. I'm just saying plan your thoughts on paper rather than keeping them here. It's way better. Spend 2 to 3 to 5 minutes planning and then just stick to the plan. Don't change. This is like my tip of the day for you, all right? Now, the single text that we want to talk about is, it's very important that, for example, in higher, you get 2 questions, you only choose one of them. In ordinary, you get 10, 10, 10, that you have to answer all of them. When I say 10, I say 10 between brackets, so 10 point. And 3 30s, where you answer only one. So the single text is the text that you need to know inside out. So if you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you need to know that text really well, with the quotes, with like an in-depth. So that's the part where you need to really focus on the details for the single text. The details are what matter. Now, for higher level, you have to do a Shakespearean play for the single text. In ordinary, that doesn't really matter what you do, what kind of text. Just you have to make sure that the text is prescribed on the syllabus for single text. So, what I mean by details, you need to know the story, you need to understand the characters, the relationships with each other, with life, the motivations. You got to know the world, what they like, that they inhibit, what kind of world, the class, the themes. all that, like the success or failure of the writer in presenting such themes and showing an interesting way to prove that. You have to also be familiar with the imagery, with the dramatic moments, with the key moments, the usage of symbols like Wuthering Heights or whatever. But you're not doing Wuthering Heights. You're doing, you're doing Hamlet if you're doing high level, or you're doing Macbeth or whatever it is. Now, it is only the focused retelling of relevant parts of the story that is in the interest of the examiner. Like, we don't care what did, I don't know, Hamlet wear when, well, of course we care because he wore all dark when his father died, but we don't care what he wore 3 scenes later. We don't really know, we don't want to know, we don't care, we care about the key moments. So my advice to you is you need to literally take, I don't know, let's say top 15 key moments and know them inside out. That is what I always advise my students, especially if you are late in terms of like studying or something. Get the most important 15, 20 key moments, and you will know the play and know them like retrospectively. Do not jump from one to another. Know what happens first, second. I'm saying how to improvise, but you should always, know the entire thing. So the next thing right after the single text that I may want to talk to you about will be the comparative study. And here you'll get 2 questions on 2 modes of the comparative, right? There'll be a choice within each question. So you have to answer 1 set of these questions. So the comparative study is not just like a single text, just like multiplied by 3. Like, don't get it that way. You do not have to know each of the text of like those 3 texts if you're doing higher in as much detail as you know the text that you're doing for ordinary, for single text. So if you're doing ordinary, you're doing only 2 texts, I presume. What you need to know is you need to know how to use the modes of comparison. So like if you're doing higher, it's theme or issue, literary genre, cultural context, or if you're doing ordinary, it's, I don't know, relationships, hero, her and villain, themes, social setting, 3 of them. And also each year has 3 different modes that come up as syllabus, right, on the syllabus. So you need to, like, do not study a mode that came up last year because that won't be on your exam. So you gotta make sure that this is, that you know this. Now, for instance, you got very famous 4 modes of comparison, and those are theme or issue, literary genre, cultural context, and general vision and viewpoint. And this is for higher, so what is always repeated. 3 of them are for this year that you need to know. When you're done with that, you get to the final section of unseen poetry and prescribed poetry, right? The poetry section. So you'll get 2 questions on the unseen poem. Sometimes you'll get, well, of course, you'll get 2 questions each worth 20 points. You answer 1, which is great, right? So the unseen poem gives you a chance to demonstrate that you can read and answer on a poem in a confident, thoughtful way. In ordinary, it's different. In ordinary, you get 2 10-point questions that you have to answer, so you don't really get a choice. But in higher, you get 2 20s and you have a choice. So I'm not gonna talk to you about the unseen poem and what it what it has in terms of like its contents and how to answer it, because that would be a separate lesson. Today I'm only talking to you about how to approach paper 2. So the questions on unseen poem are rather about the meaning of the poem and more about how that meaning is conveyed and its impact on you as a reader. So it's like we don't want you to explain to us what the poem really means, because no one really knows unless you're very lucky to have studied that poem before and have had that analysis. So what we want to know is, what do you get from that? What kind of language, like what is your response to this language? Does it affect you? I know it's cliche and it's all that, that cringy stuff, but this is the Leaving Cert and this is how we have to approach it, so bear with me. The last part, the prescribed poetry, still section 3. Like for higher level, there will be a question on 4 of the 8 prescribed poets. You must answer on 1 of the poets. In ordinary, it's different. You'll get 4 poems, and each poem has a set of questions. And in ordinary, it's 10, 10, 10, and a 20. And a 20. So you have to like choose 120 out of the 3, and you got 3 10s in front of you. So that's 50 all in all. In higher is just 1 question, just like the single text, and you have to write a lot about engaging with the world of the poems that the poet has written. And in higher, you have to know about the poet, while in ordinary, you don't necessarily have to know a lot, except from like, you know, the little background of like who he is, like a few sentences, and you don't even have to mention that, but it's gonna help you to write the answers. Right, now, right when you're done with that, that's it. You will see that blank page, and you're done with paper 2 for the English Leaving Cert. So this is everything that you guys have to know when it comes to the English Leaving Cert. Nothing more than this matters. So once you know this, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new or refreshed your memory about, you know, the approach to paper 2. In case you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or drop them down in the comments below. Thank you very much and have a good day.